Commander Zethkari pressed his long fingers against the cool metal of the observation deck window. Through the thick gloss, he could see the peaceful surface of Kepler 442b spinning slowly below. The planet looked calm from up here, but Zethkari knew better. His research station was in terrible danger. The station was huge, almost like a small city floating in space. It had been built 3 years ago to study alien life forms from dangerous worlds. The labs inside held samples and research, data that could save millions of lives across the galaxy. Scientists from 12 different species worked here, trying to find cures for the Red Death Plague that was killing people on 3 different star systems. Zethkari was an Altarian, a tall and thin blue-skinned species known for their peaceful ways and love of science. His people had never fought a real war. They solved problems with talks and treaties, not guns and ships. This had worked well for them for over 2,000 years. But today, it might not be enough. Commander called Dr. Vextani from across the control room. Her voice was shaking. She was trying to sound calm, but Zethkari could hear the fear underneath. The long-range sensors are picking up multiple ships coming our way. Big ones. Zethkari walked over to the main display screen. Red dots appeared on the star map, moving toward their position. There were 12 ships, each one larger than their research station. The computer identified them quickly. Krex Empire battlecruisers, he said quietly. The words felt heavy in his mouth. The Krex were everything the Altarians were not. They were big, strong, and violent. They had sharp teeth and thick armor-like skin. For the past 50 years, they had been taking over worlds on the edge of Coalition space. They did not ask nicely. They just took what they wanted and killed anyone who got in their way. "Why are they coming here?" asked Dr. Vextani. "We are just scientists. We do not have weapons or armies." Zethkari looked at the research data on his screen. The answer was there, glowing in soft blue letters. The plague cure research. If they destroy our work, millions will die. If they take it for themselves, they can demand anything they want from the Coalition worlds. The station only had 24 people on it. Most were scientists like Dr. Vextani. There were 6 security guards, but they were trained to stop thieves and accidents, not fight a war. Their weapons were small energy guns meant to stun, not kill. "How long until they get here?" Zethkari asked. 2 hours and 15 minutes, answered the computer in its calm voice. Zethkari touched the emergency communication panel. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. Within seconds, he was broadcasting on all Coalition emergency channels. "This is Commander Zethkari of Research Station Omega-7 on Kepler 442b. We are under attack by Krex Empire forces. 12. Battle cruisers are approaching our position. We have critical plague research data that must not fall into enemy hands. We need immediate military assistance. Repeat, we need immediate help." He sent the message again and again. Then he waited. The closest Coalition fleet was 23 days away at maximum speed. The Krex would be here in 2 hours. It was hopeless, but he had to try. Minutes passed like hours. The Krex ships got closer. The station's small defense. Guns would not even scratch their thick armor. Zethkari began preparing to destroy the research data rather than let the Krex have it. Then something unexpected happened. "Commander," said Dr. Vextani, "I am getting a response to our distress." "Call the Coalition fleet?" asked Zethkari hopefully. "No, sir. It is from a ship called the New Horizon. They say they are from Earth Defense Corps." Zethkari looked confused. "Earth? I do not know that world. Double quotes Dr. Vextani checked her computer. "It shows up in our files as Terra, designation C347. It was. added to the Coalition record 6 months ago. The species is called humans. What class world is it? Class 12 Deathworld, sir. Zethkari felt his heart sink. A Class 12 Deathworld was almost impossible to live on. The planets were full of poison, radiation, extreme weather, and dangerous animals. Most species could not even visit such places without dying quickly. Any life forms that evolved there would be simple and primitive. What kind of ship do they have? He asked. It lists as a light cruiser, sir. Only one ship. One small ship from a primitive Deathworld species. Against 12 Krex battle cruisers. It would be a massacre. The communication panel beeped. A new voice came through the speakers. It was deeper than most species Zethkari knew, and it had a strange accent. Research Station Omega-7. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth. Ship New Horizon. We received your distress call. We are 4 hours out at current speed, but we can be there in 2 hours if we push our engines. Hold tight. Help is on the way. Zethkari pressed the reply button. Captain Morrison, I appreciate your response, but you should know that you will be facing 12 Krex battle cruisers. Perhaps you should wait for Coalition reinforcements. There was a pause. Then Captain Morrison spoke again, and Zethkari could hear something strange in his voice. It sounded almost like he was looking forward to a fight. Commander, we know exactly what we are flying into. We have been tracking Krex movements in this sector for 3 weeks. Do not worry about us. Just keep your people safe and your data secure. New Horizon out. The signal ended. Dr. Vextani looked at Zethkari with worry in her large eyes. Sir, should we tell them not to come? One ship cannot fight 12 Krex cruisers. These humans will die, and we will still be captured. Zethkari thought about it. The humans were brave to respond, but they did not understand what they were facing. The Krex had conquered 17 worlds. Their ships were designed for war. Their crews were trained killers. But what choice did they have? No one else was coming. We will wait and see, he said finally. Perhaps the humans will see the odds and retreat. At least they tried to help. 1 hour passed. The Krex ships were now visible without telescopes. 12 dark shapes against the stars. They were huge and covered in weapons. Each one could destroy the research station with a single shot. The station's alarm began to sound. All non-essential personnel went to the safe areas deep inside the station. The scientists hid their most important research in secure vaults. If they were going to lose everything, at least they would make the Krex work for it. 30 minutes later, something appeared on the edge of the sensor range. It was much smaller than the Krex ships, and it was moving fast. Very fast. The human ship? Asked Dr. Vextani. Yes, said Zethkari, but look at its speed. How are they moving so quickly? The New Horizon was traveling at a speed that should have torn it apart. Most ships could not handle that much stress on their hulls and engines. Either the humans were very advanced, or they were willing to take risks that other species would never consider. They are not slowing down, observed Dr. Vextani. She was right. Normal procedure was to slow down well before reaching a battle zone, then approach carefully. The human ship was not doing that. It was heading straight for the Krex formation, at maximum speed. Sir, said the computer, the Krex ships are powering up their weapons. They have detected the approaching vessel. Zethkari watched the display screen with growing amazement and horror. One small ship was about to face 12 large ones. The humans were either very brave or very stupid. Maybe, he thought, on a class. 12 Deathworld. There was no difference between the two. The human ship dropped out of hyperspace, right in the middle of the Krex formation. Commander Zethkari had never seen anything like it. Every military manual said you should arrive at a safe distance, study the enemy, then plan your attack. The humans did none of these things. The New Horizon appeared between two Krex battlecruisers, so close that their shields were almost touching. Alarm sounds filled the research station's control room as the sensors went crazy trying to track. "Everything at once. By the stars," whispered Dr. Vexteni. "Are they insane?" The Krex were just as surprised. Their ships had been moving in a neat formation, preparing to surround the research station. Now there was an enemy ship right in their middle, and they were almost shooting each other, trying to turn their guns toward it. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication channel. He sounded calm, like he was ordering lunch instead of facing 12 enemy warships. "Attention Krex vessels. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship New Horizon. You are attacking a Coalition research facility. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system, or we will make you withdraw." Zethkari could not believe what he was hearing. One small ship was giving orders to 12 large ones. It was like watching a mouse threaten a pack of wolves. The Krex commander's response came quickly. His voice was deep and full of anger. "Foolish humans, you dare threaten the mighty Krex Empire? We will crush your tiny ship and use your bones for decorations." 25 seconds, said Captain Morrison. The Krex commander laughed. It was an ugly sound that made Zethkari's skin crawl. "All ships, destroy the human vessel? Show them what happens when lesser species challenge the Krex." "Time's up," said Morrison. What happened next changed everything. Zethkari thought he knew about warfare. The human ship did not try to run. It did not try to hide. Instead, it launched something that looked like small metal pods directly at the Krex flagship. At the same time, the New Horizon began moving in ways that should have been impossible. The ship twisted and rolled through space like it was dancing. Krex energy beams shot past it, missing by inches. The human ship's pilot was flying like this. Laws of physics were just suggestions. When a Krex missile got too close, the ship spun around and shot it down with precise laser fire, then kept flying toward the enemy flagship. "Sir," said Dr. Vextani, staring at her screens, "those pods." The humans launched. "They are boarding pods." "Boarding pods?" Zethkari looked confused. "But the Krex ship's shields are still up. The pods will be destroyed." They watched as the small pods flew straight into the Krex flagship's energy shields. Instead of being destroyed, the pods punched right through. The shields flickered and sparked, but the pods kept going until they hit the enemy ship's hull dot inside the New Horizon. Sergeant Lisa Grant was getting her Marines ready for battle. She was a short woman with dark hair and muscles that came from years of hard training. Her squad consisted of 8 Marines, each one carrying weapons and equipment that looked primitive compared to most alien technology. "Listen up, people," she said to her team. "We are going into a Krex ship. They are bigger than us, stronger than us, and they have more teeth. But we have something they do not have." "What's that, Sarge?" asked Private Danny Cole. "We are from Earth," she said with a grin. "And on Earth, everything tries to kill you. So we got really good at not dying." The boarding pods crashed through the Krex ship's hull like meteors. Emergency alarms screamed as atmosphere rushed out into space. The Krex crew scrambled to seal the breaches, but the humans were already inside. Sergeant Grant kicked open her pod's door and stepped into the enemy ship. The hallway was full of poisonous gas from the hull breach, but she just pulled on a simple mask and kept moving. Her Marines followed, each one carrying weapons that fired solid metal bullets instead of energy beams. The first group of Krex soldiers they met were not ready for what hit them. They expected the humans to move carefully, using cover and advanced tactics. Instead, the Marines charged straight at them, firing as they ran. The Krex had thick armor that could stop most energy weapons. But the human bullets were different. They punched through armor like it was paper. The Krek soldiers fell back in confusion and fear. What are these creatures? One of them shouted in his own language. They fight like wild animals, answered another. But the humans were not wild animals. They were something much more dangerous. They were soldiers from a world where only the toughest survived, and they had learned to fight smart as well as hard. Tony Walsh, the communications specialist, was doing something that amazed even his own crew. While the ship was shaking from enemy fire, he was calmly working on a computer panel. But he was not typing on a keyboard or using fancy hacking tools. Instead, he was pulling out cables and sticking human equipment directly into the alien computer systems. "Tony, what are you doing?" asked Chief Engineer Bobby Chun over the radio. "Making friends with their computer," Tony replied. He pulled out another cable and connected it to a device that looked like it was built in someone's garage. "These Krek systems are not that different from ours. They just need a little convincing to work together." Sparks flew from the alien computer, but Tony kept working. He had learned electronics by fixing broken radios in cars back on Earth. Alien technology was just another puzzle to solve. On the research station, Zethkari and his crew watched the battle with growing amazement. The human ship was still flying through the Krek's formation, but now it was doing something else that seemed impossible. It was fighting all 12 enemy ships at the same time and winning. The New Horizons weapons were not the most advanced in the galaxy, but they were used in ways that no other species had ever tried. Instead of firing at the enemy ship's strongest points, the humans aimed for small, weak spots that most fighters would never notice. They shot at antenna arrays to blind the enemy sensors. They targeted engine cooling systems to make the ships overheat. They even fired at the connections between different parts of the ships, trying to make them fall apart. "Sir," said Dr. Vextani, "the human ship is taking a lot of damage. Their shields are failing." She was right. The New Horizons energy shields flickered and went out. Krek's weapons hit the ship's hull, leaving black marks and small holes. Any other crew would have retreated to repair the damage. The humans did not retreat. Instead, Chief Engineer Bobby Chun suited up in a spacesuit and went outside the ship while the battle was still going on. He crawled along the hull, fixing damaged systems with tools and spare parts, while energy beams shot past him. "This is completely insane," whispered ZETH single quotes Carrie Dr. Amy Rodriguez. The human medical officer was treating wounded Marines who had been injured in the boarding action. But these humans did not act like wounded soldiers from other species. Marine with a broken arm kept fighting. Another one with burns on his face refused to leave his post. "Sarge," said one of the Marines to Lisa Grant, "I think they have hostages deeper in the ship." Grant's face went hard. "How many?" "Looks like 5 Altarians, scientists from the station. They must have been captured during an earlier raid." Grant did not hesitate. "Cole Rodriguez Torres, you are with me. We are getting them out. The Kreks have them in a heavily defended area," warned Tony Walsh over the radio. "You would have to fight through 3 levels of guards." "Then that is what we will do," said Grant. The Marines moved deeper into the Krek ship. The hallways were filled with smoke, and the emergency lights were flashing red. Normal soldiers would have been confused and frightened. The humans used the chaos to their advantage, moving like shadows through the damaged ship. When they reached the prison area, they found 20 Kreks guards waiting for them. The aliens were confident that their numbers and position would stop any rescue attempt. They were wrong. The humans did not attack where the Kreks expected. Instead, they used explosive charges to blow a hole in the wall and came through from the side. A fight was over in minutes. The rescued Altarian scientists could not believe what they saw. These humans were shorter than them, with no natural armor or claws. But they fought like demons and showed no fear of death. "How?" asked one of the rescued scientists. "How do you fight so well?" Sergeant Grant helped the alien to his feet. "We are from Earth," she said. "And on Earth, if you do not fight hard, you do not live to see tomorrow." The battle was getting worse for the Kreks, but they were not giving up. 3 of their ships had been badly damaged by the human attacks, and their flagship was full of human Marines who were tearing through their defenses like they were made of paper. Commander Zethkari watched from the research station as something incredible happened. The New Horizons life support systems failed in several sections of the ship. Poisonous gases leaked into the hallways. The temperature dropped so low that most species would freeze to death in minutes. The humans did not panic. They did not abandon those sections of their ship. Instead, they put on emergency suits that looked like they were made from spare parts and kept fighting. Chief Engineer Bobby Chun was floating in space outside the damaged ship when the life support failed. He could have gone back inside to safety, but he did not. He kept working on the damaged hull, fixing critical systems while wearing nothing but a thin spacesuit and a helmet that had a crack in it. "Bobby, get back inside," Captain Morrison said over the radio. "That section is venting atmosphere." "Almost done, Captain," Bobby replied. He was using a welding tool to seal a hole in the ship's armor while floating in zero gravity. Behind him, Krek's energy beams were still shooting past, trying to hit the human ship. "Just need 2 more minutes." Dr. Vextani looked at her instruments in disbelief. "Sir, the human engineer is working in a radiation field that would kill most species in seconds. How is he still alive?" Zethkari did not have an answer. Everything he knew about biology said that the humans should be dead by now. They were fighting in conditions that would stop any other military force in the galaxy dot inside the Krek's flagship. Sergeant Grant and her Marines had rescued the Altarian hostages, but now they faced a new problem. The Kreks had sealed off all the escape routes and were pumping poisonous gas into the section where the humans were trapped. "Sarge, the air is getting bad in here," said Private Cole. His voice was muffled by the simple breathing mask he wore. "I know," Grant replied. She was studying a map of the ship on her handheld computer. "But look at this. The Kreks designed this ship assuming that poisonous gas would stop any boarding party. They did not plan for what to do if the boarders could handle the gas." She was right. The Krek ship had many safety features to protect the crew from toxic leaks and atmosphere problems. But those same features became weaknesses when the humans used them differently than expected. "Torres, do you still have those explosive charges?" Grant asked. "Yes, Sarge, but if we use them in here, we might breach the hull." "Good," Grant said with a smile that would have scared the Kreks if they could see it. "We are going to make our own exit." The Marines placed explosives on the outer wall of the ship. When they detonated, a huge hole opened into space. The rush of escaping air sucked everything in the room toward the opening, including several surprised Krek soldiers, but the humans were ready. They had attached safety lines to themselves and to the rescued Altarians. As the atmosphere rushed out, they used the force to pull themselves toward their boarding pods, which were still attached to the outside of the ship. The rescued Altarian scientists were terrified. They were flying through space in emergency suits, holding on to human Marines who seemed completely calm about the whole situation. "This is insane," one of them said over the radio. "Welcome to human military tactics," replied Sergeant Grant. "We specialize in insane." Back on the New Horizon, Dr. Amy Rodriguez was treating wounded Marines in a medical bay that had no heat and barely any air. She worked by the light of a small flashlight, using medical tools that were simple but effective. A Marine named Peterson had been hit by Krek's weapons 3 times. He had burns on his chest, a broken leg, and a cut on his head that was bleeding. Badly. Any other species would be unconscious or dead. Peterson was asking when he could go back to the fight. You need to rest, Dr. Rodriguez told him. These injuries would put anyone else in the hospital for weeks. Doc, my squad is still. Over there, Peterson said. He tried to sit up, but Rodriguez pushed him back down. They need me. They need you alive, she replied. Give me 10 minutes to patch you up properly, and we will see. What amazed her was that Peterson would probably be ready to fight again in those 10 minutes. Humans healed faster than most species, and they could function with injuries that would stop others completely. Tony Walsh had finally broken into the Krex communication system, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of using advanced computer hacking, he had physically rewired the alien systems to work with human equipment. His setup looked like a pile of junk held together with tape and hope, but it worked. Captain, he called to Morrison, I am inside their network. And you are not going to believe what I found. What is it, Tony? This attack on the research station is just the beginning. The Krex have 12 more fleets heading to different coalition worlds right now. They are planning to hit everyone at the same time. Captain Morrison felt his jaw tighten. The Krex were not just trying to steal research data. They were starting a full war against the coalition, counting on the peaceful nature of most species. To make their conquest easy, send all that information to Earth Command immediately, Morrison ordered, and copy it to the research station. They need to warn the coalition. Already on it, Captain. The battle around the research station was reaching a turning point. Half of the Krex ships were damaged, and their flagship was in chaos with human Marines running through the hallways. But the remaining Krex ships were still dangerous, and they were getting angry. The Krex commander of the second largest ship took control of the fleet. His voice came over all communication channels, filled with rage. Enough of this. All ships, ignore the human vessel. Target the research station directly. If we cannot capture it, we will destroy it. 6 Krex battle cruisers turned their main, guns toward the helpless research station. Each ship had enough firepower to destroy the station with one shot. Together, they could turn it into space dust. Commander Zethkari closed his eyes. He had done everything he could. The humans had fought bravely, but they could not stop all the Krex ships at once. Then something happened that no one expected. The New Horizon, which had been fighting defensively and trying to stay alive, suddenly changed tactics completely. Instead of dodging and running, it flew straight toward the largest group of Krex ships at maximum speed. What are they doing? Asked Dr. Vex Tenney. Captain Morrison's voice came over the radio, and for the first time, he sounded truly angry. You want to target civilians? Fine. Let's see how you handle a real fight. The human ship dove into the middle of the Krex formation like a bullet. Its weapons fired in all directions, not trying to destroy the enemy ships, but to disable them. They shot out sensor arrays, communication equipment, and weapon systems. But the most amazing thing was how the ship moved. Chief Engineer Bobby Chun had somehow fixed the damaged engines and made them work even better than before. The New Horizon twisted and spun through space like it was alive, always staying one step ahead of the enemy weapons. The Krex ships found themselves in a terrible position. They were so close together that they could not fire their main guns without risking hitting each other. The human ship was too small and fast to target with their big weapons, but too well armored for their smaller guns to damage seriously. And then Sergeant Grant's Marines returned from their boarding mission. The Marines had not just rescued the hostages and escaped. They had planted explosive charges throughout the Krex flagship before they left. As their boarding pods docked with the New Horizon, the charges went off. The largest Krex ship broke apart in a series of explosions that lit up space like a small sun. Pieces of it flew in all directions, hitting 2 other Krek ships and damaging them badly. The remaining Krek ships suddenly found themselves facing an enemy that they did not understand at all. These humans fought like no other species in the galaxy. They took risks that seemed like suicide, but somehow survived. They turned their weaknesses into strengths and made their enemies' advantages work against them. Most importantly, they never gave up. No matter how bad things got, no matter how much damage they took, the humans kept fighting. They did not know how to quit. The Krek's commander, who had taken control of the fleet, was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. These were not the primitive cave dwellers his intelligence reports had described. These were predators from a world so dangerous that it had forged them into the perfect warriors, and now they were angry. The Krek's fleet was falling apart, but they were not finished yet. 7 ships remained, and their new commander was smarter than the last one. Instead of trying to fight the human ship directly, he ordered his fleet to spread out and use the asteroid field around Kepler 442b as cover. "Clever," said Captain Morrison as he watched the enemy ships disappear behind the large space rocks. "They think they can use the asteroids to hide from us and pick us off one by one." Tony Walsh looked up from his jury-rigged communication system. "Captain, I am reading massive energy buildup from their ships. They are charging their main weapons." "Let me guess," Morrison said with a grim smile. "They plan to destroy the asteroids we are hiding behind and take us out with the debris." "That would be my guess, sir." Commander Zethkari watched from the research station as the human ship flew into the asteroid field. To him, it looked like the humans were running away from the fight. The asteroids would provide some protection, but they were also a trap. Once the Kreks started shooting, the flying rocks would make it impossible for the New Horizon to move freely. "Sir," said Dr. Vextani, "should we prepare to evacuate the station? If the humans are defeated, the Kreks will capture us for sure." Zethkari was about to answer when something strange happened. Instead of hiding behind the asteroids, the human ship began flying between them at incredible speed. It was moving so fast that it should have crashed into the rocks, but somehow the pilot kept finding narrow paths through the floating maze. "What are they doing?" Isari asked. His question was answered when the first Krek ship fired its main weapon at an asteroid the humans had just passed. The massive energy beam hit the rock and shattered it into thousands of pieces. But instead of hitting the human ship, the debris flew in all directions and struck 2 other asteroids. Those asteroids broke apart and hit more rocks. Within seconds, a chain reaction was spreading through the entire asteroid field. "By the stars," whispered Dr. Vextani. "They are using the asteroids as weapons." She was right. The humans had not entered the asteroid field to hide. They had entered it to turn it into a giant trap for the Krek ships. Captain Narration had grown up on Earth, where avalanches and rock slides were common dangers in the mountains. He understood how small actions could cause huge chain reactions. The Kreks, who came from a world with stable geology, did not. "Bobby, give me everything the engines have got," Morrison called to his chief engineer. "Captain, we are already at maximum speed. If I push them any harder, they might explode." "Then make sure they explode at the right time," Morrison replied. The New Horizon raced through the collapsing asteroid field like it was dancing with death. Rocks the size of buildings flew past the ship, missing it by inches. Any normal pilot would have been killed in the first few seconds, but Morrison was not a normal pilot. He had learned to fly in Earth's atmosphere, where storms and lightning could kill you in an instant. Flying through falling rocks was just another day at the office for him. The Krek ships were not so lucky. They had spread out to avoid the human ship, but now they were trapped by their own tactics. The asteroids they had planned to use as cover were now flying toward them like missiles. The first Krek ship tried to run, but a chunk of rock the size of a city block slammed into its engines. The ship spun out of control and crashed into another asteroid, exploding in a ball of fire. The second ship tried to shoot its way out, using its weapons to destroy the rocks flying toward it. But for every asteroid it destroyed, 2 more took its place. Soon the ship was overwhelmed and crushed under tons of flying stone. Dr. Amy Rodriguez was still treating wounded Marines in the medical bay when the ship began shaking from all the debris hitting the hull. Instead of being worried, she seemed almost calm. "Doc, how can you stay so relaxed?" asked Private Cole, who was getting his arm bandaged. "I grew up in Kansas," she replied, applying medical tape with steady hands. "Tornado country. When you have lived through storms that can throw cars around like toys, flying rocks do not seem so scary." That was the difference between humans and other species, Cole realized. Other species saw the asteroid field as a dangerous obstacle. Humans saw it as just another type of weather. Tony Walsh was having the time of his life. His communication equipment was picking up signals from all the Krek ships, and he could hear their panic as they realized what was happening. "Captain," he called out, "the Kreks are trying to coordinate their escape, but their communications are getting scrambled by all the metal in the asteroid debris. They cannot talk to each other properly." "Good," Morrison replied, steering the ship around a particularly large rock. "Confused enemies make mistakes." He was right. The remaining Krek ships were flying blind, trying to escape the asteroid storm, while avoiding both the flying rocks and each other. 2 of them almost collided as they fled in different directions, but Morrison was not finished with them yet. He had been studying the way the asteroids moved, and he had noticed something interesting. The rocks were not flying randomly. They were following predictable paths based on gravity and momentum. "Tony, can you calculate the trajectory of that big asteroid cluster heading toward the 3rd Krek ship?" "Already on it, Captain," Tony replied, his fingers flying over his improvised computer system. "It will miss them by about 200 meters. Not if we help it along," Morrison said. He aimed the ship's weapons at a specific point on the asteroid cluster and fired. The laser blasts did not destroy the rocks. Instead, they gave them just enough of a push to change their direction slightly. The cluster of asteroids, each one larger than the Krek ship, slammed into the enemy vessel and tore it apart. Commander Zethkari could not believe what he was seeing. The humans were not just surviving in the asteroid field. They were controlling it, using the flying rocks like a giant weapon system. "Sir," said Dr. Vextani, "how are they doing this? No species has ever been able to fight effectively in an asteroid storm." "Because no other species comes from a world like Earth," Zethkari replied. He was beginning to understand something important about these humans. They are used to environments that change constantly and try to kill them. To them, this is not chaos. This is just another day. 3 Krek ships remained, and they were getting desperate. Their commander made a fatal mistake. Instead of trying to escape, he ordered his ships to regroup and make one final attack on the research station. "All ships, emergency speed toward the station," he commanded. "We will complete our mission even if it kills us." The 3 Krek ships flew out of the asteroid field at maximum speed, their weapons charging for a final strike. They had enough firepower to destroy the research station and everyone on it, but they had forgotten about the human ship Dot. The New Horizon came out of the asteroid field like a bullet, moving faster than it had any right to move. Chief Engineer Bobby Chun had done something to the engines that pushed them far beyond their normal limits. "Bobby, what did you do to my ship?" Morrison asked as the speed readings climbed to impossible levels. "I removed some safety features that we do not really need," Bobby replied cheerfully. "Also, I may have fed the engines some fuel additives They're not exactly regulation approved. Will we explode? Probably not. Good enough. The New Horizon caught up with the fleeing Krek ships, just as they were about to fire on the research station. But instead of shooting at them, Morrison did something completely unexpected. He rammed them. The human ship, moving at incredible speed, slammed into the side of the lead Krek's vessel. The impact should have destroyed both ships, but the New Horizon had been built tough. It punched through the Krek ship's armor like it was made of paper and came out the other side. The Krek ship broke in half and exploded. The other two Kreks vessels were so shocked by the attack that they forgot to fire their weapons. Sergeant Grant's voice came over the radio from the Marine deck. Captain, did we just ram them? Yes, we did, Morrison replied. Outstanding, sir. The last two Krek ships tried to run, but it was too late. The New Horizon was faster, tougher, and had a crew that did not know the meaning of the word impossible. Final battle was over quickly. The humans had won against odds that should have been hopeless dot as the last Krek ship exploded. Commander Zethkari felt something he had never experienced before. It was not just relief or gratitude. It was awe. These humans had done the impossible. They had taken 12 enemy ships with one of their own, fought in conditions that would kill other species, and turned certain defeat into total victory. They had done it all to help strangers they had never met before. The space around Kepler 442b was quiet now. Pieces of destroyed Krek ships floated among the scattered asteroids like dark metal flowers. The research station was safe, its lights shining peacefully against the stars. Commander Zethkari stood in the communication room, trying to find words for what he had just witnessed. The humans had done something that military experts would say was impossible. They had defeated 12 enemy ships with just one of their own. Commander, said Dr. Vextani, the human ship is requesting permission to dock. They have wounded crew members who need medical attention. Of course, Zethkari replied quickly. Give them everything they need. They have earned it. 20 minutes later, Zethkari met Captain Morrison in the station's main docking bay. The human was shorter than most species Zethkari knew with, dark hair and eyes that looked tired but alert. His uniform was torn and dirty from the battle, but he stood straight and proud. Commander Zethkari, Morrison said, holding out his hand in the human greeting gesture. I am glad we could help. Zethkari shook the offered hand, noting how strong the human's grip was. Captain Morrison, I do not know how to thank you. What you did today should have been impossible. Morrison smiled, and Zethkari was surprised to see that it was a humble smile, not the proud expression he expected from a great warrior. We just did our job, Commander. When someone calls for backup, we answer. But how? Zethkari asked. Your ship was outnumbered 12-1. Your crew was fighting in conditions that would kill most species. Everything about this battle should have ended in your defeat. Morrison thought about the question for a moment. Commander, what do you know about Earth? Very little, Zethkari admitted. Our records show it as a Class 12 death world. We assumed any life that would be primitive. Earth is dangerous, Morrison agreed. The weather tries to kill. You, the animals try to eat you. The ground shakes and the mountains explode. Even the air can be poisonous in some places. Then how do you survive? We adapt, Morrison said simply. We get stronger. We learn to work together. And we never give up, because giving up means dying. Dr. Amy Rodriguez appeared in the docking bay, helping a wounded Marine walk to the medical station. The Marine had burns on his face and a bandaged arm, but he was smiling and joking with his friends. Your people heal very quickly, observed Dr. Vextani, who was watching the humans with fascination. We have to, Rodriguez replied. On Earth. If you stay hurt for too long, something else will come along to finish you off. So our bodies learn to fix themselves fast. Sergeant Grant walked up to the group, her uniform dirty and torn from the boarding action. She looked tired but satisfied. "All Marines accounted for, Captain," she reported. "No serious injuries. Peterson is complaining that we did not get to fight more Kreks, but I think that is just normal for him." Morrison nodded. "Good work, Sergeant. You and your team did the impossible today." "Sir, with respect, we did not do anything impossible." Grant replied, "We just did what Marines do. We completed the mission." Tony Walsh joined them, carrying a portable computer that looked like it had been built from spare parts and hope. "Captain, I have finished downloading all the data from the Kreks communication systems. You are going to want to see this. What did you find, Tony?" "The Kreks were not lying about their big plan," Tony said, his face serious. "They have fleets moving toward 12 different coalition worlds right now. The attacks are supposed to happen in the next 48 hours. Commander Zethkari felt his heart sink. 12 worlds full of peaceful species, all about to be attacked by the savage Kreks Empire. The coalition fleets are too far away to help," he said quietly. "Those worlds will be defenseless." Captain Morrison looked at Tony. "What about Earth? Command, do they know about this?" "I sent all the information as soon as I got it," Tony replied. "But sir, even if Earth responds immediately, we only have one ship in this sector. We cannot be in 12 places at once." Morrison was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he smiled, and Zethkari noticed that this smile was different from the humble one before. This one looked almost predatory. "Tony, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need backup. Real backup. Sir, the nearest Earth fleet is 6 days away at maximum speed." "Not that fleet," Morrison said. "The other one." Tony's eyes went wide. "Sir, are you sure?" "Admiral Clark said that fleet was supposed to stay hidden until we knew more about Krek's capabilities." "I think we know enough now," Morrison replied. "Send the message." Commander Zethkari did not understand what the humans were talking about, but he could see that something important was happening. "Captain Morrison, what fleet are you referring to?" Morrison looked at the Altarian commander with that predatory smile still on his face. "Commander, you asked for backup. What you got was one ship with 43 crew members. But that was just the beginning. I do not understand." "Earth has been tracking Krek's movements for 3 months," Morrison explained. "We knew they were planning something big, but we did not know what or when, so we prepared." Tony was typing rapidly on his improvised computer. "Message sent, Captain. Earth Command confirms receipt and says Admiral Clark is moving to intercept." "Who is Admiral Clark?" asked Zethkari. "She commands the Earth Defense Corps' 5th Fleet," Morrison replied. 47 ships, all crewed by humans from different Deathworlds on Earth. They have been hiding in the outer system, waiting for the Kreks to make their move." Dr. Vextani looked confused. "But Captain, if you had 47 ships available, why did you come alone?" "Because we did not know if one ship would be enough," Morrison said. "Now we do. And the Kreks are about to learn what real backup looks like." 8 hours later, the Kreks fleets attacking coalition worlds received a very unpleasant surprise. Just as they were beginning their attacks, human ships appeared in every system at once. The Kreks had expected to face peaceful coalition species with their slow-moving ships and reluctance to fight. Instead, they found themselves fighting humans, who treated space combat like a deadly game they had been playing their whole lives. The battle reports came in over the next day, and they all told the same story. The Kreks Empire, which had conquered 17 worlds through superior numbers and brutality, was being systematically destroyed by a species they had never heard of before. Admiral Susan Clark contacted the research station personally to speak with Commander Zethkari. She was an older human woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles. Commander Zethkari, she said over the communication screen, I want to thank you for your distress call. It gave us the excuse we needed to show the Krex. What happens when they threaten innocent people? Admiral Clark, I do not understand. Captain Morrison said you were hiding in this system. How did you get ships to 12 different worlds so quickly? Admiral Clark smiled, and Zethkari was beginning to recognize that particular human expression. It meant they had done something clever that would surprise everyone. We were not hiding just in this system, Commander. We have been hiding near every world the Krex were planning to attack. We have been watching them for months, waiting for them to make their move. You knew about their plan? We suspected. Humans are very good at recognizing predators, Commander. It comes from living on a world full of them. The final reports came in 3 days later. The Krex Empire had been completely defeated. Some of their ships had been destroyed, but most had been captured. The Krex crews were being held on prison ships, waiting to be processed. But the biggest surprise came when Admiral Clark offered the captured Krex soldiers a choice. They could go to prison for their crimes, or they could join the coalition as reformed citizens and help rebuild the worlds they had damaged. Most of the Krex chose prison, but some, the younger ones who were tired of constant war, chose to join the coalition. They were sent to Earth for training, where they would learn to live peacefully with other species. Commander, Zethkari visited Captain Morrison one last time before the New Horizon left the system. The human ship had been repaired and restocked, ready for its next mission. Captain, Zethkari said, I have been thinking about what happened here. When I sent that distress call asking for backup, I expected coalition ships with diplomatic solutions and careful strategies. And instead you got us, Morrison said with a grin. Yes, but I realize now that we got exactly what we needed. Not what we expected, but what we needed. Morrison extended his hand again, and Zethkari shook it warmly. Commander, when someone calls for help, humans will always answer. That is just who we are. As the New Horizon flew away into hyperspace, Zethkari prepared his official report to the Coalition Council. The final paragraph read, when facing impossible odds against enemies who show no mercy, do not call for backup. Call for humans. They are the backup. They are hope when there is no hope. They are the ones who answer when everyone else is too far away to help. The galaxy is safer because they are in it. 6 months later, the Coalition established the Death World. Defense Corps, with Captain Jake Morrison, promoted to Admiral and placed in command. The Corps became the Coalition's first line of defense against any threat too dangerous for conventional forces to handle. And whenever the call went out across the galaxy, we need backup, the answer always came back the same way. Help is on the way. The humans are coming.